It was supposed to be just a vacation trip, but ended up as a tragedy. On August 23, the whole world was stunned when a dismissed police officer held hostage a busload of Chinese tourists from Hong Kong for more than 10 hours in Manila. Terror and anguish claimed the whole nation as the siege resulted to a bloody outcome. Outraged by the mishandling of this grave crisis, an outpour of negative emotions from the international community arose. The light of wisdom and compassion in the hearts of Chuchi volunteers in the Philippines, however, guided them to personally visit and extend sympathies to the wounded victims and pay respects to the killed Chinese tourists by offering sincere prayer for their souls before the caskets of their remains fly back to Hong Kong. Three days after the incident came another heartbreaking disaster. A huge fire razed about 400 shanties in two villages in Navotas City, displacing around 1,500 poor families. But the volunteers turned the incident into one opportunity to break racial conflicts as they staged relief missions that involved the city government officials and local police officers. Such effort brought the hearts of Chinese and Filipinos closer together. In aiding victims of one of the biggest fire disasters in the country, the volunteers showed their great love, which transcends religious borders. On April 25, heavy traffic filled the streets of E. Rodriguez Sr. Avenue in Quezon City when a tragic fire reduced the houses of over 1,500 families into ashes. Affected residents fled their burning houses, saving nothing but their loved ones, and were left to live on the streets, enduring cold and hunger. Soon after, 427 volunteers mobilized to provide food, drinking water, and other basic necessities to the fire victims for 5 consecutive days. Even in dark times, the love of the volunteers shone forth. Responding to a total of 65 fire disasters this year, the mission of the volunteers to bring the victims immediate aid and awaken the goodness in them was ever more fervent. The volunteers were left really busy and tired of all the work, but they were much grateful for the opportunity to help. With hearts of great compassion, volunteers feel the sufferings of their fellow men as if it were their own. In the year 2010 alone, more than 1,000 people were given medical attention by the foundation. Aside from Luzon, seeds of love are also being spread in the islands of Visayas and Mindanao through the liaisons offices in Cebu and Zamboanga. Here, the volunteers work hard to carry out missions for the deprived members of society. Twins from Cebu, Rose Carmel and Rose Carmelette Molit, were born conjoined at the hips and shared one rectum. Coming from a poor family, every second in the twins' burdened life was hard to bear. Their parents fortunately found help from Chuchi volunteers in Cebu. With blessings from Master Cheng Yen, the Molit sisters were flown to Taiwan for surgery, together with their mother. After a 7-hour procedure on June 5, the twins were successfully separated at the Hualien Chuchi Medical Center. The sisters returned to the Philippines on August 19. In a press conference organized for the local media, they met Rachel and Leia Awel, the first pair of conjoined twins who were helped separated by Chuchi. Their story was then released in different broadcast and print media in the country. On October 10, 2010, the Liaison's Office in Zamboanga commemorated its 10th year of selfless service to the community by turning over 2 of the 7 blood center equipment they purchased for the blood bank of the local Red Cross chapter. Since its establishment in 2000, it has conducted 49 medical missions that benefited more than 21,000 patients, thus propagating love in the war-torn city. The world we live in may be filled with sufferings, but Chuchi works hard to care for the sick and the poor with unconditional love. Within 16 diligent years of giving medical services, 200,000 patients nationwide have benefited from the 138 medical missions conducted by the Foundation's local main office in the Philippines. During the 129th medical mission in Barangay Fortune, Marikina, volunteers met 44-year-old single mother Leonarda Ramboy, who had a large tumor on her right jaw. Her disease, called ameloblastoma, has put her in suffering for 24 years, so the needed surgery was immediately slated. Inspired by the volunteers who supported her every step of the way, Leonarda made one simple vow.
Gusto ko rin makatulong kasi tinulungan niyo ako.
Upon learning the high cost of her operation, she took the effort to solicit funds from her friends and donate them to Chuchi. In a 6.5-hour surgery on August 7, TIMA members Dr. Frederick Le and Dr. Ramon Lau successfully removed the 650-gram mass on Leonarda's face and implanted an artificial jaw. In return of their selflessness, Leonarda gave the doctors letters of gratitude. She also expressed her utmost gratefulness to Master Cheng Yen through a letter, thanking her for the brand new life she received. In reaching out to indigents outside Metro Manila, TIMA doctors and Chuchi volunteers staged eye missions to help cure people with eye problems in provinces like San Fabian, Pangasinan. The mobile dental service of the Chuchi Dental Clinic has also extended aid to thousands of needy Filipinos in different areas in Metro Manila, providing free services on oral prophylaxis, tooth extraction, dental restoration, and dentures. Through these missions, Chuchi was able to cast bright rays and smiles of relief in the lives of the destitute. Time flies by so quickly. Memories of Typhoon Ondoy's flood disaster last year seem still vivid in our minds. The disaster left scars in our hearts but made us reflect on our negligent actions toward the earth. The affinity created between Chuchi and Marikina started when Typhoon Ondoy devastated the city on September 26, 2009. Having one great love to embrace the flood survivors, the volunteers committed to help them and planned long-term goals towards a brighter future. 5 directives were handed down to them by Master Cheng Yen. Aid the Mariqueños in terms of livelihood, character development, health, education, and housing needs. In April, Chuchi opened a Cash for Work program at the Chuchi Great Love Campus, where Mariqueños are paid for cleaning the area, washing donated clothes, for relief missions, and recycling. Livelihood training program was also launched to train out-of-school youth in Marikina to be dental aides and dental technicians through the dental auxiliary course. Jobless females were invited to enroll in a garment sewing class, where they were trained to be competent seamstresses. Both courses not only provided skills but also honed the students to become disciplined, loving, and selfless individuals. In completing the program, the trainees were bestowed certificates and job placements to help improve the lives of their families.
Halos lahat kami magkakaroon ng trabaho, yan ang talagang pinagpapasalamatan namin ng malaki.
Everyone possesses the ability to put love into action and inspire others to do good. After undergoing volunteers training program since November 2009, more than 5,000 Mariqueños have joined the 10 training camps and learned the humanistic culture of Chuchi. These Filipino volunteers cultivate their bodhisattva spirit by coming to the aid of their needy fellow men, such as victims of fire disasters, and by giving assistance to people who are in need. On July 13, Typhoon Basyang destroyed the poorly built houses in the impoverished community of Dreamland in Rosario, Cavite. Volunteers from Marikina City mobilized to help the residents rebuild their houses as a way to pay back the goodness they did when they aided Mariqueños in cleaning up their community after Typhoon Ondoy's onslaught despite their poor situation. For years, garbage has been part of the lives of about 300 families in Dreamland. In an effort to lessen the sufferings of the residents caused by unhealthy surroundings, a weekly cleanup drive was launched, participated mostly by volunteers from Marikina. Local children were also given free bathing and grooming services as they received new uniforms, shoes, and school supplies for the school year. Feeding program was also launched to provide them sufficient nutritious foods. Young Mariqueños, on the other hand, fulfill their role as the hope of society by holding tutorial lessons to help the students in their studies. Holding on to the hope of seeing the residents in better lives in the near future, the volunteers encourage the residents to start changing their wayward habits. During the year-end relief mission in the area, the locals responded positively to this call by committing to quit their vices and promote goodness in thoughts, words, and deeds. Aside from personally carrying out missions for their poor fellow men, more than 2,000 residents in Marikina nurture the goodness in their hearts by giving monthly donations to the foundation. Barangays Nanka, Malanday, and Tumana have also initiated clean-up drives in their respective communities, where they sweep up the streets and bravely clear out clogged canals every week. The seeds of love sown in the hearts of Marikina residents were also passed down to the youth. From just over 100 last year, Chuchi's Educational Assistance Program this year has expanded to accommodate over 700 students. Among them are more than 300 indigent but smart students from Marikina. To hone them to become better individuals, the first ever Filipino Chuchi Youth Steel Thoughts Life Camp was held in May. The two-day camp was joined by about 400 participants from Marikina who learned to help care for the earth by becoming responsible citizens and by eating less meat, and strengthened their love for their parents in return of their sacrifices. 1 year after Typhoon Ondoy, a new milestone in the foundation's history was revealed as it inaugurated the Chuchi Marikina Educational Recycling Center in Barangay Fortune. The center, built on a piece of land donated by Dr. Lucio Tan, includes a recycling facility, a vegetable organic garden, a medical clinic, and a main hall for volunteers assembly. This fortress of the foundation in Marikina hopes to address global warming and awaken people to the urgent need to prevent disasters and care for Mother Earth. It is also a testimony of Chuchi's commitment to serve the people of Marikina and the entire city as it aims to purify their minds, care for their hearts, and safeguard their health in the long run. 20 years after Master Cheng Yen called on everyone to use their clapping hands to do recycling, Chuchi steps up its recycling effort by taking hold of affinities. Starting on the national elections, Chuchi raised its recycling program to another level by deploying hundreds of volunteers to different polling stations in Marikina City to clean up and recycle the garbage being produced. This undertaking was carried on during the barangay elections, where all the voting precincts in the entire Marikina were covered and even extended to San Mateo, Rizal, and Quezon City. In the commemoration of All Saints' Day, volunteers also staged recycling and cleanup drive in 2 cemeteries in Marikina and Manila that promoted awareness among the public about environmental protection.
Marikina Heights High School supports Chuchi's Environmental Protection Program.
Having formed a good relationship with the city government of Marikina, Chuchi launched a recycling program that aims to cover all communities, schools, and establishments in the entire city. Local volunteers are designated to cover assigned recycling stations in different areas daily, while being paid allowances to help them with their needs. This long-term effort hopes to educate and encourage citizens to join Chuchi in saving Mother Earth and reduce garbage by collecting recyclables and donate them to the foundation, which in turn uses the proceeds to provide allowances for the recycling volunteers in the city.
We are very happy and fortunate to be part of the noble task of the foundation.
The efforts of the volunteers proved fruitful as over 30 public and private schools have begun the recycling program since September 21. The local government and Division of City Schools have also given their blessings to this project. On November 17, the City Council of Marikina passed a resolution empowering Mayor Del de Guzman to sign a memorandum of agreement authorizing Chuchi to implement recycling in the entire city. The next day, the Division of City Schools headed by Dr. Eduardo Lopez also signed an agreement with regards to the program. These two memoranda were humbly presented to Master Cheng Yen when 36 Marikina City officials flew with some volunteers to Chuchi Foundation's head office in Taiwan on November 19. The master was deeply touched by this, which she saw as an inspirational model. With this environmental protection project, Chuchi hopes to help solve the garbage problem and provide livelihood to people from one city to another. The earth is our only home. Saving it from complete destruction is a very urgent concern that needs everyone's participation. Your support, time, volunteer services or donations of any kind, including recyclables, are indeed very valuable in saving lives and the world from calamities. Over the years, Chuchi Philippines has been taking environmental protection as a very serious issue. Hence, we are making every effort to care for the earth before it's too late. We are doing all we can to protect this beautiful planet of ours. We hope you can join us too.